Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's more important to ask questions for clarification than messing something up because you were too afraid to ask. Welcome to the Workforce Link podcast, where we're offering forward-thinking conversations for the workforce, linking employers and job seekers to a brighter tomorrow. I'm your host, Sunday Jo Graham, and I am so glad to be back with you for another episode today. So, congratulations goes out to you. You got the job. Not only that, but you got a job that you really wanted. More like a career pathway that you've been dreaming of. You obviously made a good impression in the interview, and now you want to do the same with your boss and your coworkers. Maybe you're a bit nervous about your first day. You've got 1,000 thoughts racing in your head, and how is it going to go? Guess what? It's okay to be nervous. But remember that your first day should be exciting. Maybe you haven't gotten the job yet, but you're feeling pretty confident that you did. Guess what? It's never too early to start preparing. On today's episode of the Workforce Link podcast, we're going to talk about 8 ways to be confident on your first day of work. So let's dive right in. Number 1, you want to plan ahead. You don't want to go into the office surprised. Make sure you know what the dress code is prior to heading to your first day on the job. You don't want to show up in jeans, right, if the dress code is business casual. And of course, this is usually something that the employer is going to tell you prior to starting, but just in case, make sure you know. Also, make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get to work. You don't want to be late on your first day on the job, right? Because that's probably not going to settle well unless, you have some really great excuse, like there was a UFO that landed in the middle of the freeway and all the traffic lights were down. Okay, your boss might let that one slip. So number 1, plan ahead. Number 2, know the facts about your new employer. So if you did this prior to sending your resume, right, because we teach this, because you've added the company's mission statement on your cover letter like we talked about in previous episodes, as well as doing research before the interview, then you're already one step ahead. But just in case you didn't, or to dig a little bit deeper, make sure that you've learned as much about the employer as you can prior to your first day. Okay, you're obviously not going to be an expert, but you sure can make yourself look like one. Okay, dig into their website, find their team members on LinkedIn, read articles and posts that they've shared. Make sure you do your homework because you're never going to regret it. Okay, number 2, know the facts about your new employer. Number 3, walk in with a positive attitude. So the last thing that you want to do is walk into your first day grumpy, right? You might walk in a little nervous. Guess what? That's okay. But make sure your face and your thoughts line up. I'm going to say that again. Make sure your face and your thoughts line up, okay? Having a great attitude is definitely going to give people a great first impression of you. Show your enthusiasm, show your gratefulness for being on the team, okay? So walk in with a positive attitude. Number 4, get a good night's sleep. If you don't want to walk into your first day grumpy, make sure that you go to bed at a decent time so that you can get up at a decent time. Your sleep affects your mood, okay? Don't go to bed at midnight expecting to get up at 6 a.m. and be this perky, positive Polly, right? And by the way, if you can do that, I am super jealous and I really do want to know how you do it because I'm telling you right now, if I get less than 8 hours of sleep, even Jesus doesn't like me. Seriously though, get a good night's sleep. It's important, okay? Get a good night's sleep. Number 5, ask yourself why you're there. You're going to need to know this on your first day, as well as when the days at work get hard, okay? Again, it's okay to be nervous on your first day, so hold on to the answer to that question. Why are you at this job? Why did you apply for this job? Why did you say yes to the job? Why did they hire you, right? Knowing your why will help you calm the nerves as well as stay on track on the hard days because we're all going to have hard days in our jobs, even when we love them. Speaking of knowing your why, do you know your why? Here are some powerful words that I want you to sit on for a second. You lose your way when you lose your why. Everything changes for us when we start asking ourselves the right questions. Not why did I do that stupid thing, but why do I want to do something different? Listen to me, my friend. Your children need you to find your why. Your parents need you to find your why. Your future boss needs you to find your why. Your grandchildren need you to find your why. We want to help you do that. That's why we put together this free gift, How to Find Your Why. This free guide will give you some starter questions to get you on the right path to finding your why. If you're ready to rock your world by digging deeper into building a better tomorrow, don't wait another day. You can download the free guide at cwdregion.com/why. Remember, you lose your way when you lose your why. Hold on to your why like your life depends on it, because your life depends on it. Again, you can download it today at cwdregion.com/why. That's cwdregion.com/why. And now back to the show. Number 6, make sure you ask questions. Of course, you're not going to know everything on the first day, okay? Trust me, if you pretend like you do, you're already setting yourself up for failure. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's more important to ask questions for clarification than messing something up because you were too afraid to ask. I've been there, done that. I recommend bringing a notebook and writing things down, okay? Don't just nod your head and say, yep, got it. Write it down. Even if you don't need to write it down because you know you're going to remember it. It shows that you're paying attention when you're willing to write things down. And I can only speak for myself as somebody who has hired people, managed people, trained people. When I see someone show up with a notebook ready to learn and write, I know that they're going to be a valuable asset because it shows me that they are teachable. So make sure you ask questions. Number 7, introduce yourself. So your boss or whoever's training you is most likely going to introduce you to your team members. But if they don't, you should be the first to introduce yourself. And if there are people in the company that maybe you might not work directly with, that's okay. Go introduce yourself to them as well. This shows your enthusiasm for the job and it makes you seem approachable. And here's a side note. Try to remember the names of your new team members. Now, I'm going to be completely real here. I struggle with this. I struggle so much with remembering names. I'm great with faces, but I struggle with names. I'm lucky to remember my own. So write down the names of those you meet if you struggle like I do. A couple tips that you can try to do as well. When I shake somebody's hand and they introduce themselves, I try to repeat their name back to them so that I can remember. A friend taught me to do that. So something like, hi Lisa, nice to meet you, right? So you're saying their name back and it kind of helps you to remember. Or I try to remember something unique about that person, something that I can attach their name to. So maybe Bob has a freckle on his head. Maybe Nancy likes the color purple, right? You get the idea. And if you forget names, which I do all the time, just apologize and ask again. People aren't going to mind, especially if you've met a lot of people that day, okay? So make sure you introduce yourself. Last but not least, number 8, enjoy yourself. You don't want your first day to be so stressful that you never want to come back, right? Hopefully your new boss doesn't want that for you either. You want your first day to be enjoyable. So don't get so nervous that you forget to smile or think you're going to forget something and miss out on something. It's going to take some time to settle into a new job, to settle into your new role. And hopefully you have a team and a boss that's going to help you adapt well. So try not to get yourself so worked up that you go home dreading coming back tomorrow. Because if that's the case, maybe you didn't find the right job, okay? So enjoy yourself. Okay, so let's quickly go over the 8 ways to be confident on your first day of work. Number 1, plan ahead. Number 2, know the facts about where you're working. Number 3, have a positive attitude. 4, get a good night's sleep. 5, remember why you're there. Number 6, don't be afraid to ask questions. Number 7, introduce yourself and try to remember names. And number 8, enjoy yourself, okay? And don't forget to celebrate the fact that you got the job. You should be proud of yourself, so make sure you give yourself a pat on the back. Before we close out today's episode, I have a question for you. Are you enjoying this podcast? If you are, would you mind sharing it with a friend or a coworker who would enjoy it as well? Maybe you have a friend who's getting ready to start a new job and they need a boost of confidence before they start. Thank you again for sharing, and feel free to leave us a review if you haven't already. It makes it easier for others to find us. All right, that's it for us this week. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with a friend. Have a great week, and we will meet again in the next episode. Until then, remember this: there's always a brighter tomorrow if you're willing to find it. The Central Region Workforce Development Board Incorporated and COPIC are equal opportunity employers and programs. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Missouri Relay Services at 711.